Africa is about to be hit hard again by Elon Musk's Doge and President Trump. 60% of the embassies the Trump administration wants to close are...
Hello everyone, welcome once again to my YouTube channel. We'll be taking a look at yet another Trump administration. Trump is at it again, where he's planning to close 30 embassies both in Africa and Europe in a move to cut off spending cuts. This policy comes after Elon Musk Doge and Marco Rubio's. Let's watch.
In Africa, they're targeting South Sudan, Lesotho, the Gambia, Eritrea, Congo Republic, and the Central African Republic. They also want to shut down the consulates in Douala, Cameroon, and in Durban, South Africa, and reduce the size of the mission in Mogadishu, Somalia. This is according to an internal document that still needs congressional approval and could change.
Hi everyone, I'm sorry to say this, but the immigration news only gets worse each day if you're an immigrant in the United States. The Trump administration is now closely looking at closing nearly 30 overseas embassies and consulates throughout the world, mostly in Europe and Africa, although they may include ones in Asia and the Caribbean, according to an internal State Department document. And this includes embassies in Malta, Luxembourg, Lesotho, the Republic of the Congo, Central African Republic, and South Sudan. Now, also included are 5 consulates in France and 2 in Germany, as well as 2 in Bosnia and Herzegovina, and 1 in the United Kingdom, as well as 1 in South Africa and South Korea. Now, here's the bad news, too. F1 student visas are being revoked without any notice or SEVIS records terminated, again without notice. Now, in other news, the Justice Department has fired the immigration lawyer who argued the case of Kilmar Garcia, the man mistakenly deported to El Salvador, who apparently is not coming back. In fact, the Trump administration is continuing to resist the efforts of the Maryland federal judge to locate and return Kilmar Garcia from the notorious jail in El Salvador. This comes after the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that the government must, quote, facilitate his release from custody and return to the U.S. For all we know, Mr. Garcia may be deceased. Now, we are seeing that the Trump administration is openly defying federal court orders, and it does get worse because the president of El Salvador says he doesn't have the power to return Mr. Garcia to the U.S. And there's more. The Justice Department has just fired the immigration lawyer who argued on behalf of Mr. Garcia's case.
As of April 15, 2025, the Trump administration is proposing significant reductions to the U.S. State Department's budget, potentially halving it and leading to the closure of numerous diplomatic missions worldwide. An internal document obtained by CNN outlines plans to close up to 30 embassies and consulates, primarily in Africa and Europe, as part of broader efforts to curtail government spending. The proposed budget cuts also include a nearly 75% reduction in foreign aid and the elimination of funding for various international organizations, including the United Nations and NATO. These measures reflect the administration's focus on reducing federal expenditures and reshaping U.S. foreign policy priorities. However, the proposals are still under review and would require congressional approval, where they are expected to face significant opposition.
We have some dramatic news. Donald Trump is back at it. This time, he's after the U.S. embassies. 30 new U.S. embassies and consulates could be shut down under the administration of Donald Trump. France, Germany, or even the UK could be gone. Key spots like Somalia, maybe Syria, and maybe Yemen, all part of a $30 billion budget cut to the State Department. Now, he's saying it's all about saving money, but let's be real for a second. Slashing American presence around the world doesn't just cut cost. It also cuts influence, and it cuts security and sends a colossal message to the world telling them that they are stepping back. Now, here's the $1 million question. Is Donald Trump reshaping the foreign policy or just burning bridges?
According to an internal State Department document, the Trump administration is considering closing 10 embassies and 17 consulates as a part of President Trump's plan to reduce federal spending. What are embassies and consulates? How are they different? And which are Trump proposing to close? ASP explains. An embassy is the main diplomatic office in a foreign country. It represents the home government at the highest level, managing political, economic, and cultural relations. Consulates, on the other hand, are satellite offices in major cities outside the capital. They primarily serve citizens abroad, issuing passports, providing emergency assistance and legal help, and promoting trade and economic cooperation. Consular staff have limited diplomatic immunity, usually only when performing official duties. The U.S. has previously closed embassies, often due to unrest or diplomatic disputes. During President Biden's term, 3 missions were shuttered because of security concerns. Other historic closures include the embassy to Cuba in 1961 and Iran following its seizure in the 1979 Iranian Revolution. According to a State Department memo viewed by media outlets, 10 embassies and 17 consulates are being considered for closure. 6 embassies are in Africa, 2 are in Europe, 1 is in Asia, and another is in the Caribbean. Nearly all of the consulates are in Europe, with 2 in Asia and 2 in Africa. If closed, diplomatic missions in neighboring countries will take over the jobs of the closed missions. Critics argue the move could weaken U.S. influence, particularly in Africa, where China has a growing diplomatic presence. They also warned of national security risks, especially with the proposed closures in Iraq and Somalia, both key to counterterrorism efforts. Secretary of State Marco Rubio would need to approve the closures. Congress ultimately sets the federal budget and may require the administration to maintain the diplomatic missions.
The Trump administration proposed to cut global diplomacy and closes nearly 30 embassies worldwide. An internal State Department document reveals that the Trump administration is considering closing nearly 30 embassies and consulates around the world as part of a historic diplomatic restructuring driven by its Elon Musk-backed Office of Government Efficiency. The proposal suggests reducing operations in strategic countries such as Somalia and Iraq, and closing representations in Malta, Luxembourg, South Korea, France, the United Kingdom, and several countries in Africa and the Caribbean. Although not yet confirmed by Secretary Marco Rubio, the plan aims to transform the United States diplomatic landscape, consolidating functions in neighboring countries and cutting staff, which could weaken its international reach vis-a-vis powers like China.
Having watched the videos, the move will actually impact on US economy with other nations. Is shutting down embassies a clear move to cut spending on the US government? Let me know what you think about this statement in the comment section below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Thank you.